Hello, everyone. And I think after the discussions we just had, we probably all have a sense that safety and security is really important. And this is why we wanted to take the next part of our session this morning, just to share what is being done at a global level to support the safety and security revised global policy. We had, as you all know, a safety and security policy that is more than 5 years old. So, number one, why are we reviewing it? I think the answer is quite obvious. When a document that kind of dictates procedures and dictates what is our stand on something starts being kind of out of date, times move so fast that best practices and approach needs to be reviewed. Also, the Global Fellowship is facing new things that we have never faced before. And we have heard from our colleagues in Mozambique, in Myanmar, but also from all of you through the breakout discussions that there are new challenges. And it's really important that we look at the policies and really see whether they are still valid. So the why is because they are out of date and we want to make them current, make them practical, and make them implementable in each of your countries. How the review of a global policy takes place. For some of you that might be less familiar in terms of policies review and consultation processes, this is something that cannot be done by one person alone. This is something that we ensure that has many layers of consultation so that we try our best to basically take as much as possible all the various angles that the Global Fellowship represents. We are extremely diverse. We know that we have huge countries where there are thousands of people, and we have small countries where our operations are very humble. We have fundraising countries, we have supporting countries. So we need to get the input from everyone to ensure that the global document basically incorporates everyone's approach to security, but also that the global policy incorporates the best expert advice on the best approaches to how safety and security has to be handled. We had the opportunity to hear from Nathan yesterday to that effect. And when we decided to review the policy, he is one of the external consultants that we also kind of requested feedback from. We requested feedback from all the country leaders. We requested feedback from international office staff, from members of the HR network, from yourselves. You might remember having seen the policy, and some of you took some time to really see how that applies in your context and gave us very insightful comments that help to improve the document. And at the moment, as an update, it's still at a draft stage. What happens with global policies, they all have to go to the policies and standards member appointed working group. Again, a member of representatives around the fellowship that look particularly at policies and standards. They also incorporate the feedback. And finally, when we have what we call a final draft, something that we are comfortable enough that can be applied at global level, it goes to the board for final approval. When that happens, then later on this year, we will be very much delighted to present that global policy to you and to allow all of you to kind of take it forward. What is in the policy? Like many policies, and we are familiar on these concerning all the documents that we all manage at an HR level. There are principles, there is our stand, there is our duty of care, there is the TLM specific approach to security, which is very different from organization to organization. The risk appetite. Each organization, depending on their activities and depending on their culture, they have kind of different risk appetite. And all that is on the document that will be presented to you so that you can also kind of cascade it down and implement it on your context. Next. So a part of the policy, which is the most high-level document, we have seen that it's very important that the procedures also are reviewed. The procedures go into more details, like the what, the where, the when, the who. Is kind of the more specific details of how are we going to do this. In essence, we have these big statements of will and these big statements of what we consider adequate, but basically how are we going to put all that in place? So there are specific instructions about security ratings that we hope that they are going to be easier to distinguish than what we had in the previous policy or in the still current, because obviously it's not been implemented yet. There is more information on crisis management, and we heard from Myanmar how they are actually currently functioning under a crisis management team. But yeah, there are a lot more details of how do they come about, what is the composition of the crisis management team, what is their function. There is more information in the new procedures around the incident management. How does it need to be recorded? What sort of information needs to gather? And what needs to be the next steps after an incident is reported. There are also extra information and parts that touch on suspension and evacuation whenever those concepts apply. And there are a lot more templates and checklists that we didn't necessarily have in what we are currently using, because we feel that as more practical as we make this document for all of you, as better will be when we have to handle a situation. When the time comes, the next steps will be that you all obviously get familiar with this new global safety and security policy and procedures that will be launched later on in 2021. We don't have the exact month because obviously it depends on the member appointed working group and the board, but we hope that definitely will be before the end of the year. We are estimating around the September board meeting as a potential deadline for approval, but we will keep you updated on the dates. And once that document is available, you normally receive a communication either from Brent or from myself informing you that the policy has been approved. At that stage, we're quite delighted because it takes a lot of months of consultation and review. And then the job is in your hands to really get familiar with that policy, look in your country, and determine how to adapt it, how to contextualize it, who will have the safety and security responsibilities, ensuring that everyone is trained on the policy and the practical aspects of it. And we really hope that this document will serve to handle crisis, which is unfortunately part of the times we are living, in a more standard way and in a way that can actually keep us safe and keep the people that we work with in a better place. So having said that, I hand it back to Jane and Cindy.
Thank you, Damaris.